The ballroom was dressed in gold and glass, the kind of place where silence cost more than most people's rent. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, casting shimmering light over tuxedos and gowns, laughter and lies. Ethan Cross didn't want to be there. He stood near the back of the crowd, drink in hand, barely sipping. Around him, America's richest smirked behind champagne flutes, pretending they weren't bidding on people. It was supposed to be a charity gala. The brochure said, "Rescue through sponsorship." But Ethan had built empires by reading between the lines. On stage, a woman in a silver mask tapped her clipboard. The next sponsorship opportunity was presented. A girl, young, shoulders bare. Her dress, though elegant and cut, was torn at the strap. She stood silently beside the auctioneer, chin high, but her hands were clenched tight behind her back. Ethan almost looked away, until he saw it. There, half hidden beneath the frayed fabric of her dress, was a tattoo, a small black bird, wings stretched mid-flight, spiraling up her shoulder like it had taken flight from pain itself. His breath caught. He knew that tattoo. His fingers closed tighter around the glass. 5 years ago, in a burning village halfway across the world, he had crawled through rubble lungs filled with smoke and death, blood soaking his shirt. He had seen that exact mark on the hand of the man who dragged him out, gave him water, and shielded him from falling debris with nothing but his own body. That man never asked for Ethan's name, never said his own, only smiled, once nodded, and disappeared when the helicopters came. Ethan had searched for him for months afterward. No name, no trace, only that bird. Now here it was, branded on the shoulder of a girl being auctioned off like she was a cocktail package. The woman beside the auctioneer said something about supporting displaced women. A few people laughed. A man in the front raised his paddle and offered $5,000. Ethan's voice cut through the room. "I'll take her." The auctioneer blinked. So did half the room. The paddle man turned, eyebrows raised. "Excuse me." Ethan stepped forward, the tailored black of his suit gleaming under the lights. He didn't raise a paddle. He didn't smile. "I'll buy her outright. Double whatever the final bid would have been." "Sir, this is not." Ethan pulled a sleek black card from his pocket and held it out. "Charge it. And don't pretend this is anything more than what it is." A pause. Then the woman took the card. The crowd murmured. Some clapped. Others looked away. The girl hadn't moved. Ethan stepped toward the stage. The auctioneer gestured, and a guard untied her hands. She stumbled for a moment but didn't fall. Ethan reached up and steadied her gently, his palm brushing her shoulder. Up close, the tattoo was even clearer. The same exact lines, the same flight pattern. She looked at him. Dark eyes, wide, but not afraid, defiant. He didn't say a word, just turned and led her out. As they passed the velvet ropes and the silent faces, Ethan felt every eye on them. But the only thing that mattered was the bird inked into her skin, and the ghost of the man who had once saved his life in a nameless land. Tonight, Ethan Cross had just bought more than a girl. He had bought his way back into a story he thought was long buried. The ride was silent. She sat in the back seat of his black SUV, arms folded, eyes fixed on the city lights as they slipped past. Ethan didn't speak. Neither did she. His driver knew better than to ask questions. He only drove. Ethan had arranged for the penthouse suite of one of his hotels downtown. No press, no names, just privacy and time to figure out what the hell had just happened. When they reached the private elevator, Ethan turned to her. She didn't move. "You're safe now," he said quietly. She met his eyes for the first time since leaving the gala. "Safe." Her voice was rough, like she hadn't used it in days. "Is that what you call it when someone buys you?" Ethan didn't flinch. "I didn't buy you. I got you out of that room." She gave a small laugh, sharp, bitter. "Same thing, different packaging." The elevator opened. He motioned for her to enter first. She did, but not without a backward glance that told him she didn't trust him, not even a little. He didn't blame her. Upstairs, the suite was silent. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble counters, a view of the whole city. She stood at the edge of it all like it meant nothing. "What's your name?" Ethan asked. She hesitated. Then softly, "Layla." He nodded. "Layla." "I'm Ethan. I know who you are," she said. He waited. She didn't elaborate. He poured her a glass of water, set it gently on the table beside her, and sat across the room. "I saw your tattoo," he said. "That's why I stopped. That mark. It's not just decoration." She didn't respond. 5 years ago, I was in a place I shouldn't have been. War zone. Unofficial. I was doing business, trying to fund a local school project. There was a bombing. I got trapped. Buried. Bleeding. No comms. No backup. He looked at her, his voice steady. And then this man appeared. He pulled me out, dragged me to shelter, gave me water, bandaged my leg with his own scarf. He didn't speak English, but he smiled at me. And I saw that bird on his arm. Layla's body tensed. "Your father had that tattoo, didn't he?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. "Was that him?" She nodded once, then turned away. Voice tight. "His name was Haroon. He saved my life," Ethan said. "I never forgot him." She said nothing. "I spent years trying to find him," Ethan added. "I came back with translators, looked through old records, asked aid workers. Nothing." "Because they came," Layla whispered. "Not long after he saved you. They came for us. Who people like the ones tonight. They took everything. Our village, our names. My father tried to resist, so they made an example of him." She looked down at her hands. "They burned our home, took me and my sisters, Mina and Zara. I was the oldest. I fought. I escaped. I thought I'd find help." "You didn't?" Ethan asked. She looked up, eyes burning. "In your country." Help. Ethan said nothing. He deserved that. And now he asked. "Now they have them," Layla said. "I don't know where. I don't know if they're alive. But I know one thing." "What's that?" She stepped closer, the city lights behind her casting a faint halo around her silhouette. "I'm not going to wait around hoping some billionaire with a savior complex will fix it." Ethan stood. "Good," he said. "Because I don't have a savior complex." "Then why did you pull me out?" she asked. "Because I owed a debt. To your father. And now maybe to you." Her expression changed just slightly. He took a deep breath. "Let me help you find them, Layla. I have resources you don't. Connections. Money. Time. And what do you want in return?" she asked. "Nothing. Just the truth. About what happened to him. And a chance to pay back what I can't forget." Layla looked at him long and hard. Then finally she nodded. "One condition," she said. "Name it. We do this my way." Ethan held out his hand. "Deal." She didn't take it, but she didn't walk away either. Morning came with quiet tension. The city buzzed below the penthouse, like another world entirely. Ethan stood in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, pouring coffee. Across the room, Layla sat curled in a corner chair, knees to her chest, eyes fixed on the skyline. She hadn't slept. Neither had he. He placed a mug near her elbow. She didn't touch it. "I know what it looks like," he said finally. She raised an eyebrow. "What does it look like?" "That I'm trying to control the story. Or fix you. Or play some white knight fantasy. I'm not." She didn't respond. "You think I'm here because I need to feel good about myself," he said. "That's fair. But I didn't just walk into that gala by accident." "So you were looking for someone like me?" "No. I was trying to confirm a rumor." "What rumor?" "That someone was using my company's charity branch to funnel women into private rehabilitation programs." She turned her face toward him for the first time. You think people like me are part of a rumor? He took a breath. I think people like you are being used, discarded, hidden behind words like charity and sponsorship, and I think someone close to me is making it happen. She stood slow and controlled. So this is what I am to you. A clue. A lead note. Ethan's voice was calm. You're proof that the rumor is real, that they're still doing it. And that makes me what? Your key witness, Layla. You're not an asset. You're a person. And I know I haven't earned your trust, but I will. She crossed her arms. You can't earn trust with hotel rooms and coffee. You don't undo chains with private elevators. I know. Then stop acting like you're the only one who cares. You saw a tattoo and thought it gave you permission, but it doesn't. He looked away. You're right. That stopped her. He turned back to her, his voice lower. I acted on instinct, on guilt. But none of that changes what you've been through. And it doesn't give me a place in your life. Silence stretched between them. Ethan finally sat. I had a sister, he said quietly. Her name was Harper. She was taken when we were kids. Layla blinked. They never found her. Not even a body. My family broke apart after that. My father buried himself in work. My mother never came back from the grief. She sat slowly watching him now. I started building companies because I couldn't build people, but I kept thinking, if I got rich enough, powerful enough, maybe I'd find her. Did you? He shook his head. But I found a lot of others, and I started helping where I could, quietly. No cameras, no boards. And your charity, it was supposed to be clean. But now someone's using it to hide crimes. She looked at him for a long time. Do you think my sisters are alive? I don't know, Ethan said honestly. But if they are, we'll find them. Yes, you and me. Layla exhaled, then picked up the coffee. She took a sip. Ethan smiled. Don't get ahead of yourself, she warned. This doesn't mean I like you. Understood. But if you really want to help, I have something. She reached into her bag a worn cloth pouch and pulled out a small, weathered notebook. My father kept notes, places, names, codes maybe. It doesn't mean anything to me. She handed it over. But maybe it will to you. Ethan opened it. The pages were filled with strange markings, half-written Arabic coordinates and sketches of symbols. This could be a map, he murmured. Then use it, she said. Find Mina and Zara. That's the only thing that matters. He nodded. And you? What about me? What do you want? Layla looked out the window again. I want to stop feeling like someone else owns my life. You already have, Ethan said. You just haven't realized it yet. She didn't answer, but she didn't argue either. Ethan spread the notebook across the glass table in the living room. Every page was worn smudged with dust and fingerprints, the ink faded but still legible in places. Layla sat opposite him, her eyes on the door more than the pages. She hadn't touched her tea. You said he wrote in code. She nodded. My father used tribal marking shorthand, sometimes Arabic. He didn't want anyone to understand unless they came from the same bloodline. Makes sense, Ethan murmured. He flipped to a page marked with a triangle drawn over a crescent. Below it, a set of coordinates. North America, Nevada desert. This isn't a camp, Ethan said, tapping the map. This looks like a transfer point. Layla leaned closer, eyes narrowing. You mean, not where they're held, no. Where they're sorted. Her breath caught. And after that, he shook his head. Unknown. But there's a pattern. Each girl is labeled with 2 letters and a number. I cross-referenced those with some internal reports. There's a facility registered under a fake company named ZN3, located near a restricted trucking depot 2 hours from Vegas. ZN3, Layla whispered. I saw that once. Burned into a crate when they moved us. Then that's where we go, Ethan said. You and me. She hesitated. That's not how this works. What do you mean? You don't just decide to go and I follow. We do this my way. Agreed, Ethan said, then waited. Layla looked surprised. You're not going to argue? He leaned forward. I told you your father saved me. I owe him. I owe you. I'm not here to lead. I'm here to get them back. And what happens after? He paused. After we find them. Yes. I don't know. That's your choice. She studied him. Most men like you don't let others lead. Most men like me never had to crawl through rubble with a bullet in their leg and wait to die. He met her gaze. I learned how to follow from the man with the bird tattoo. Layla blinked. Then she sat back, her jaw tightening. You'll need clearance. No one gets near ZN3 without fake credentials. I can get us close, but we'll need a cover. I can get documents, Ethan said. Transportation, surveillance, and weapons. He nodded once. Layla stood, walking to the window. If Mina and Zara are there, they'll be guarded. They don't just hand girls back. And if they've already been moved, we'll track them, Ethan said. We won't stop. She didn't look at him. You said this isn't about saving people, that you don't have a savior complex. I don't. Then why are you doing all this? He stood, walked to the window beside her. Because I remember what it felt like to be alone, to think no one was coming. She turned to him. And now I'm not going to let anyone else feel that way. Not if I can help it. Layla didn't smile, but something in her shoulders relaxed. Ethan stepped back. I'll give you space tonight. Think things over. I'll make the calls. Have my team look into ZN3 from every angle. Where will you go? Another floor. Same building. You're safe here. No one knows you're with me. Except the people who sold me, she said softly. They're already being dealt with. Quietly. She looked at him for a long moment. You're not who I expected. Neither are you. Layla crossed her arms. Tomorrow morning we move, but we do it quiet. No headlines, no hero speeches. You have my word. She turned away, heading toward the guest room. Ethan stood in silence, the notebook still open on the table, the weight of it pressing on his chest. For the first time in 5 years, he didn't feel helpless. And for the first time that day, Layla didn't feel entirely alone. The sun had barely risen when they left the city. Ethan drove. Not his usual chauffeured ride this time. It was a dusty black SUV with tinted windows and a fake license plate. Layla sat in the passenger seat, quiet, her eyes tracking every sign, every turn, every car behind them. She hadn't asked where he got the vehicle. She knew better than to ask questions that didn't need answers. 2 hours passed in silence. Then the landscape began to change. The sleek highways faded into cracked desert roads. Low warehouses appeared like ghosts half swallowed by the sand. Some looked abandoned, others too clean to be real. That one, Ethan said, pointing. Layla followed his finger. Ahead stood a long, windowless structure with rust creeping up the metal siding. A single white truck was parked out front. No signs, no movement. Looks empty, she murmured. It isn't, Ethan replied. My team intercepted a data packet from one of the sponsors. This is a holding site. Temporary. Girls are brought here before being shipped to longer-term locations. ZN3 is just one of them. Layla's knuckles tightened. How many girls? He didn't answer. They parked behind a hill of sand and sagebrush out of view. Ethan reached into the back seat, pulled out 2 black earpieces and handed one to her. You good? She took it without hesitation. Let's move, she said. They approached the building from the side, staying low. There were no guards in sight, no dogs, no cameras that they could see. But Ethan knew better. Everything about the silence felt wrong. He reached the side door and pulled out a small device from his pocket, a signal jammer and code breaker. Within seconds, the lock clicked. Inside it smelled like bleach and metal. They moved fast down a narrow corridor, boots quiet against the concrete. The walls were lined with cages, some open, some shut, each with a number etched in red. 11A, 12B, 13C. Layla stopped. Here she whispered. Ethan followed her gaze. On the far wall, scrawled into the rusted frame of one cell, were 3 letters. ZN3. Below it, a set of initials, MZ. She touched the edge of the metal, her breath catching. They were here, she said. I know it. Ethan turned, scanning the space. At the back was a desk. A laptop sat open, unattended. He rushed over, plugged in a drive from his pocket. His team had installed a mirroring tool, every file copied within seconds. He scanned the last few transfer logs. They left yesterday. What, Mina and Zara, 2 girls, transferred to Site 7, final location pending. Do you know where Site 7 is? Not yet. But we will. Layla leaned over his shoulder, eyes locked on the screen. Each entry had initials, dates, notes, and next to some names an X. She pointed. What's that? Ethan didn't answer immediately. Those are girls who didn't make it. Layla's face went blank. They found Mina and Zara's records. No X. Still active. She stepped back. Her hands trembled. They're alive, she whispered. Yes. Then why do I feel like I'm still going to lose them? Because this isn't over, Ethan said. This was just the surface. Footsteps. They froze. Layla darted behind a column. Ethan closed the laptop and slid it under his jacket. 2 men entered the warehouse from the opposite door. Security vests. One carried a clipboard. The other had a gun. You said no one would be here, Layla hissed in his earpiece. I said probably. Great. The men walked toward the cages. Layla and Ethan stayed low, slipping behind crates. We have to go, he whispered. Now. She glanced once more at the ZN3 scrawl, then nodded. They moved quickly, retracing their path to the side exit. One of the men shouted something behind them. Hey, too late. They burst out into sunlight, sprinted for the car. Go! Layla yelled. They dove into the SUV, just as a bullet cracked past the rearview mirror. Ethan hit the gas. Dust exploded behind them. Inside the car, Layla pressed her hands to her chest. Her heart was racing. They were there, Ethan. They were right there. And now we know. Layla turned to him, her eyes dark with fury. Then get me to Site 7, because I'm not losing them twice. You won't. She didn't thank him. She didn't cry. But for the first time, she didn't look at him like he was the enemy. The safe house sat quiet beneath the mountain line, disguised as an old ranger cabin deep in federal forest land. No cell signal, no cameras, just pine trees, silence and distance. Ethan had used it once before during a corporate blackmail scandal. No one but his head of security remembered. Tonight, it belonged to them. Layla stood near the firearms, folded hair loose around her shoulders. She hadn't spoken much since they escaped the warehouse. The laptop was now encrypted and in the hands of Ethan's digital team, who were working overnight to trace the transport log to Site 7. Ethan handed her a clean hoodie and a fresh bottle of water. She took both without a word. You haven't eaten, he said gently. She didn't respond. He sat down across from her on the edge of the couch. Outside, the wind rustled the trees. Inside, time felt suspended. They were there, Layla said finally. Their names, their numbers. But I didn't see them. I couldn't touch them. We will, Ethan replied. We're closer now than we were yesterday, and tomorrow we'll be closer still. She glanced at him, then looked away. Her voice was low. You're calm, even when people shoot at you. I've been through worse. Because of him, Ethan nodded. In a way. Tell me. He leaned back, watching the fire crackle. After your father pulled me out of that mess, I changed. I stopped investing in weapons development, cut ties with certain contractors, lost millions overnight. I started the foundation. Quietly. I wanted to give something back, but something still kept eating at me, because no matter how much I gave, it felt hollow. She turned to him. And now, I'm starting to feel like maybe it was never about giving back. Maybe it was about finding a reason to feel like I deserved to be alive. Layla said nothing. He continued. When I saw that tattoo, it was like the past punched me in the chest. I didn't think. I just acted. She studied him, her eyes softer than before. You carry guilt like it's a second skin. Don't we all? She stood and walked to the window. Outside, moonlight painted silver across the treetops. She hugged her arms tighter. You know, my father told me once, pain is just a debt we pay for being human. He sounds like a man I wish I'd spoken to longer. He believed in people, even after what they did to us, even after they came. Ethan stood slowly. And you? She looked over her shoulder. I stopped believing a long time ago. He stepped closer. But you didn't stop fighting. She didn't answer. You didn't stop trying to get your sisters back, he said. You didn't stop running when they chased you. And you didn't stop breathing when they tried to take that from you, too. Layla turned to face him fully. Why do you care so much? Because I've been in rooms filled with the richest men in the world, and I've never seen anyone fight as hard as you did with nothing. Their eyes locked. Something shifted. Layla took a step forward, slow and careful, like she wasn't sure if what she was about to do would ruin everything. Her voice dropped. I don't know how to trust this. You. Any of it. Then don't, Ethan said. Just trust yourself. If something inside you says this is right, listen. She was close now, just inches from him, her breath barely audible. It doesn't make sense, she said. I was a transaction, a number. No, Ethan said. You were never a number. Not to me. Not to him. Silence. Then quietly, like something neither of them meant to do, her hand brushed against his. He didn't pull away. She looked up at him, eyes wide. And he saw it beneath the fight. The fury, the fear there, was still something human. Something hopeful. Ethan leaned in just slightly. And then they heard it. The soft ping of his encrypted phone. He stepped back, picked it up. One message from his tech team. They found Site 7. He looked at her. It's a processing hub, Ethan said. Out in the desert. A place where they sort people before selling them overseas. And Mina Zara. They're on the list, still marked in transit. If we move now, we can reach them before the next shift. Layla nodded, face set. Then what are we waiting for? Ethan grabbed his keys. Let's go bring them home. The road to Site 7 was a scar across the desert, long and narrow, flanked by nothing but rocks, scrub brush, and silence. It was just after midnight when the SUV pulled off the highway, headlights dimmed, tires crunching over gravel. In the distance, barely visible through the dust, a low complex stretched across the sand, like a shadow, metal fences, watchtowers, floodlights sweeping slow arcs across the compound. They parked behind a collapsed billboard half a mile out. Ethan killed the engine and turned to Layla. You ready? She nodded, her face pale in the glow of the dashboard, but her eyes steady. What's the plan? Ethan pulled out a folded map. There's a delivery entrance on the east wall. No cameras. We'll split. I'll go in from the front with forged credentials, posing as an interested party. A buyer. You circle around back, slip in through the utility gate. My team left it cracked yesterday. Layla frowned. And if they spot me, then we improvise. She studied him. This is your world, not mine. Ethan shook his head. Not anymore. Tonight it's ours. She inhaled, then slipped out of the car, disappearing into the dark like smoke. Ethan watched her go, then adjusted his tie, grabbed the briefcase, and stepped into the open. 20 minutes later, he stood at the main gate of Site 7, flashing a smile and an ID badge that would hold up for exactly 90 minutes. I'm here for the preview, he told the guard. The man looked him over, scanned the badge, then nodded. They escorted him through a narrow hall into what looked like a showroom designed by ghosts. Dim lights, concrete walls, soft music piped through speakers as if it could drown out the truth. Inside, women and girls sat in numbered chairs, backs straight, eyes hollow. He scanned the room. No sign of Mina or Zara. Meanwhile, Layla moved like a shadow along the east fence. Her heart pounded, her breath shallow. She found the gate, pulled it open with care, and slipped inside. The back corridors were tight and sterile, lined with storage lockers and security monitors. She ducked past a staff member with a clipboard, heart hammering. Then she heard it. A voice. High-pitched. Familiar. Mina. She followed the sound to a narrow room lit by a single bulb. Two girls sat huddled together on the floor, wrists bound, knees pulled to their chests. Mina, Zara. The older of the two looked up, eyes wide. Layla. Layla ran to them, dropped to her knees, pulled out the small knife she'd hidden in her boot. "You're here," Zara whispered. "You came." "Of course I did." She cut the ropes, pulled them close, but there was no time for tears. She stood quickly. "We have to move." Back in the front, Ethan was walking through the hallway with a handler when his earpiece buzzed once. Signal meant one thing: they were found. He turned to the handler. "I've seen enough." "Sir, you haven't." He grabbed the man's collar, slammed him into the wall, and pulled the stun gun from his pocket. The man dropped like a stone. Alarms hadn't gone off yet, but they would. He sprinted down the hallway, dodging the stunned staff. Through the earpiece, Layla's breath came fast. "We have them. South corridor. But someone's coming. Hold your ground. I'm on my way." They met at the far end of the complex in a maintenance corridor reeking of bleach. Layla stood protectively in front of her sisters, clutching a pipe. Ethan joined them, breath short. 3 guards rounded the corner. Ethan fired twice with a compact taser. One man dropped. Layla swung the pipe and caught another in the ribs. The third turned and ran. "Come on," Ethan shouted. They raced through the corridor, up a stairwell, out into the open air. Spotlights swept past them. Voices shouted in the distance. The SUV waited where they'd left it. Ethan flung open the door. Layla shoved her sisters inside. He jumped behind the wheel and hit the gas. As they roared across the sand, bullets pinged off the rear bumper. Zara screamed. Layla pulled her close. "Don't look back," Ethan said. "We're not going back." The headlights lit up the road ahead. The dark behind them swallowed Site 7 whole. And this time they weren't empty-handed. They had them. They were alive. And no one was taking them again. The SUV flew down the desert road, bouncing over ruts and gravel as Ethan pushed the engine to its limit. Behind them, headlights flared, at least 2 vehicles in pursuit. Layla knelt in the back seat between her sisters, shielding them with her body as the first shot cracked through the night. "We're being followed," she said sharply. "I know," Ethan replied, gripping the wheel tighter. 2 black SUVs, gaining fast. Zara whimpered, her hands pressed over her ears. Layla's voice dropped low, steady. "Mina, hold her. Keep your head down. Don't look back." Mina obeyed, pulling Zara into her lap, whispering something soft in a language Ethan didn't know. Up ahead, the road split a narrow turnoff to the right, unpaved and hidden between 2 rock mounds. Ethan veered sharply, tires skidding. Dust billowed in their wake. Layla looked back. "They're still coming." Ethan reached into the console, pulled out a small black case. He opened it, revealing a short-barreled emergency pistol. "Can you shoot?" Layla didn't hesitate. "Give it to me." He handed it over. She slid open the window, braced herself, and waited. When the nearest SUV crested the ridge, headlights nearly blinding, she aimed low and fired once. The windshield cracked, and the driver jerked the wheel. The car swerved, clipped a boulder, and flipped in a storm of dust and metal. "One down," Ethan said. Layla didn't smile, just reloaded. The second SUV didn't slow. Its bumper caught the edge of theirs and bumped hard. "Hold on," Ethan yelled. He yanked the wheel again, this time steering through a dry riverbed. Rocks slammed against the undercarriage. Zara cried out, and Mina held her tighter. "They won't stop," Layla said. "Then we ended here." Ahead, the riverbed narrowed between 2 stone walls, a natural bottleneck. Ethan slammed the brakes, jerking the wheel as he did. The SUV spun sideways, blocking the path. He jumped out, drew his second weapon, and ran for cover. Layla followed, crouched low behind a large rock. She signaled for her sisters to stay in the car. The enemy vehicle screeched to a halt 50 yards out. Two men stepped out. One shouted something, raising his weapon. Ethan fired first. The shot caught the man in the leg. He dropped. The second man dove for cover and returned fire. Bullets kicked up dirt near Layla's shoulder. She didn't flinch. "Cover me," she said to Ethan. She moved fast, circling behind the other car, using the rocks for cover. When the second man peeked up again, she was already there. She struck hard 2 shots, center mass. He dropped. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of cooling metal and the sharp gasps of breath. Ethan stood slowly, scanning the area. No more movement. Layla emerged, lowering the pistol, her hand steady. "It's done," she said. Ethan turned to the SUV. Mina and Zara were watching through the window, eyes wide. He walked over, opened the door. "It's over. You're safe now." Mina nodded, stunned. Zara didn't speak, but her eyes frightened, confused. Grateful locked onto his and didn't blink. "We need to move," Layla said. "They'll have backup." Ethan agreed. He led them back to the car. It was dented. Scratched, the rear glass shattered, but it still ran. They drove in silence for miles, watching the horizon, listening for the sound of engines that never came. Hours passed. The sun rose behind them. They stopped only when the nearest safe house came into view, a small adobe home on the edge of a forgotten canyon, watched over by one of Ethan's most trusted contacts. Inside, the girls collapsed on the couch. Layla sat between them, arms wrapped tight. Ethan brought water. Warm blankets. "You kept your promise," Layla said softly. "I told you I would." She looked at him, tired but unwavering. "This isn't over. Whoever ran that site, they'll come back. Then we'll be ready." Her eyes searched his. Something changed in her. Then not relief, not triumph, but trust. The kind that couldn't be earned with money or names or firepower. She leaned forward. Her forehead rested lightly against his. "Thank you," she whispered. He didn't answer, but he didn't pull away. They stayed off the grid for 2 days. The adobe safe house was nestled between canyon walls that swallowed sound and light. No phones, no internet, no helicopters. Just wind and warmth, and the hollow quiet that came after fear. Mina and Zara spent most of their time sleeping curled under handmade quilts in the back room. Layla barely left their side, but when she did, it was only to sit at the small wooden table in the kitchen across from Ethan. They didn't speak much. There were no plans to make, yet no moves to calculate. The danger for now was past. It was near midnight when she found him outside, sitting on the porch beneath a dark sky, coffee cooling in his hand. Stars dusted the heavens like ash, and a breeze moved slow through the canyon. She stepped out quietly, barefoot, arms folded around herself. "You can't sleep either?" she asked. Ethan looked up. "I've been trying." She joined him on the step. Her face was soft in the moonlight. The lines of tension faded, if only slightly. "They're resting well," she said. Zara finally laughed today. Just once. But it felt real. He nodded. "I'm glad." She glanced over. "You've changed since we first met. So have you." Layla smiled, tired but genuine. It felt unfamiliar on her lips. "When this started, I thought you were just another rich man trying to buy redemption. You still might be," maybe Ethan said. "But I'm not trying to be." She studied him. "You've done more than anyone else ever has for us. I owed your father. You don't owe me anything." "That's not why I stayed," he said. Her expression shifted. "Then why?" "Because you fight harder than anyone I've ever seen. Because you lead even when you're scared. Because when you saw pain, you didn't let it break you. You used it to survive." Layla looked down. "I don't feel strong." "That's exactly why you are." She didn't speak for a while. The wind rustled the brush. A coyote called somewhere in the distance. I forgot what this kind of quiet felt like, she said. Me too. You think it'll last? No, Ethan said. But that doesn't mean we can't make the most of it while it's here. She nodded slowly, then carefully, like she was afraid the moment might crack if she moved too fast, she reached for his hand. Their fingers touched, tentative at first, then steady. Neither pulled away. I never thought I'd trust someone again, she admitted. You don't have to. Just trust this. This. He turned to her. This space. This night. This version of us. Even if it's just for now. She leaned closer, her voice a whisper. And if it's not just for now, then it's something worth holding on to. She searched his eyes, and whatever she found there was enough. She leaned in the rest of the way. Their lips met, slow, warm, full of everything they hadn't said. Not desperate, not fragile, just real. When they pulled apart, neither said a word. She rested her head on his shoulder. The stars above blinked quietly, bearing witness to a different kind of vow, not sworn in blood or pain, but in breath, in presence. Ethan looked down at her. Sleep, he said softly. I will, she murmured, for the first time in a long time. They stayed like that until dawn broke against the canyon walls, pink light creeping into the cracks of their silence. Inside, Mina and Zara still slept, but outside something new had taken root. Not safety, not certainty, but hope. 2 weeks later, the press conference was held in a sunlit atrium at the center of the Cross Foundation's headquarters. There were no cameras, only invited guests. Social workers, survivors, field agents, and a handful of journalists who had proven they could be trusted. Ethan stood behind the podium, dressed simply, no tie. Layla stood to his left in a dark blouse, her posture straight, her presence unmistakable. Behind them, a large display bore a single image. A black bird mid-flight inked across parchment. This is not an announcement, Ethan began. This is a reckoning. For years, people have been trafficked under the guise of help. Through fake charities, underground networks, silent approvals. We didn't see it. Or maybe we didn't want to. That ends now. The crowd was silent. He stepped back. Layla stepped forward. My name is Layla Haroun, she said. Some of you may know that name, most won't. But my father, he saved lives, quietly, without asking for thanks. One of those lives was Ethan's. Her voice was even. A few weeks ago, I stood on a platform in a dress someone else chose for me, waiting to be sold. Today, I stand here by choice. Beside a man who didn't just pull me out of a nightmare, he helped me pull others out too. She turned slightly. To Mina and Zara, who are watching from the other side of this glass, I promised I'd get you home. We're here. And to every woman still waiting, still hoping someone sees them, I see you. Applause was soft, not loud, but real. Afterward, people approached one by one, some with questions, others with tears. Layla spoke to them all. Ethan stood by her side, letting her speak, letting her lead. That night they returned to the quiet house just outside the city. The sisters were painting in the backyard, their laughter drifting through the windows. Ethan poured 2 glasses of wine and joined Layla on the porch. Tired, he asked. She nodded. But not the kind of tired that breaks you. The kind that says, it was worth it. He handed her the glass. She took a sip, eyes on the sky. What happens now? You tell me, he said. You're the one with the plan. She smiled. I've been thinking. The foundation has reach, but it needs ground support. Survivors helping survivors. Real stories. Real faces. Not just donations. So you want in. I want to rebuild it from the ground up. Then you're hired. She laughed softly. Does it come with an office top floor? Ethan said, "but I'll still make the coffee." She turned to him, eyes soft. "And us?" He set his glass down. "That's the one thing I don't want to build like a company. No structure, no PR, just truth." She leaned against him, her voice quiet. "Then here's mine. You didn't save me. You reminded me I was already alive." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "And you didn't just remind me. You showed me what it means to owe something deeper than a debt. Something you feel in your bones." "Love," she asked. "Not the kind you buy, the kind you fight for. The kind that survives the worst and still chooses to stay." She kissed him gentler this time. Less fire, more knowing. When they pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. "We're not finished, you know." "No, but we've started. And that's enough for tonight." They sat in the quiet, watching the sky change their shadows, stretching behind them across the porch. Inside, Mina's laughter rang out. Outside, the world waited. But here between them there was no need to rush, no need to speak, because some debts are paid in money, some in blood, and the rarest ones are paid in love.